Throughout history, the relationship between artists and their muses has been a powerful, sometimes beautiful, and often tumultuous force. Pablo Picasso had Dora Maar, whose haunting paintings reflected both her brilliance and her suffering. Dante Gabriel Rossetti was so consumed by his muse, Elizabeth Siddal, that he buried his poetry with her only to exhume her body years later and reclaim it. And Salvador Dali revered Gala to the point of obsession, immortalizing her as a goddess in his surreal and dreamlike works. These relationships blur the line between inspiration and fixation, where admiration can slide into obsession and creativity can twist into something darker. But few stories capture this descent into the bizarre quite like that of Oskar Kokoschka and the love affair that haunted him long after it ended. Kokoschka was so shattered by his relationship with muse Alma Mahler that he commissioned something extraordinary, something grotesque, something that would cement his heartbreak into infamy. Let's be honest, life gets busy. Between work responsibilities and the never-ending to-do list, sometimes you just need a break. And that's where today's sponsor, Angry Birds Dream Blast, comes in. Angry Birds Dream Blast is a fun, casual mobile game that I think is the perfect way to unwind. With this game, you can challenge your brain just the right amount and escape into something fun for a few minutes. Or, let's be real, way longer than you may have planned. The game is simple to pick up. Just pop groups of bubbles and watch them fall, creating chain reactions and big combos. Unlike traditional puzzle games where everything is confined to a box, these bubbles move freely, making every game feel fresh. It has thousands of levels and themed events, like this month's Easter event, where you can join these cuties painting eggs. Oh, and here's the kicker, you don't have to watch ads, just pure, relaxing gameplay. So if you're looking for a way to take the edge off after a long day, give Angry Birds Dream Blast a try. It's free to download, easy to play, and honestly, the perfect little escape whenever you need it. So start playing now by scanning the QR code on screen or by clicking the link in the description below and get 200 coins to spend in-game. Oskar Kokoschka was something of a bad boy in the Vienna art scene long before his affair with Alma Mahler. Born in Austria in 1886, he found notoriety before fame when he submitted a set of illustrations and a tapestry depicting sexualized fantasies to a government-funded exhibition. The bold stunt got him kicked out of art school but landed him a place within the Viennese avant-garde. With help from architect Adolf Loos, Kokoschka began a successful career in portrait commissions. After moving to Berlin in 1910, his work circulated in the magazine Der Sturm, and he became more widely recognized, receiving acclaim for his searing psychological portraits and landscapes epitomized by bold, clashing colors, exaggerated brushstrokes, and thick layers of paint. In April 1912, Oskar attended a dinner party hosted by Art Nouveau painter Karl Moll. Moll's stepdaughter, Alma Mahler, immediately captivated the artist, and by the end of the evening, he'd proposed to her. Alma declined, but was swept into a passionate affair that would consume both her and Oskar for the next 3 years. Oskar Kokoschka was not the first man Alma Mahler served as a muse for. Born in 1879 to a famous painter and an opera singer, Alma Schindler grew up surrounded by artists. Charismatic and vivacious, and with an eye for fashion and the visual arts, she was considered the loveliest girl in Vienna by the time she was 17. She studied music from a young age, becoming a composer and gifted musician. But she was forbidden from pursuing her own interests by her first husband, renowned composer-conductor Gustav Mahler, whom she married when she was just 21. The relationship was tumultuous, and following the death of their eldest daughter, Maria Anna, Alma began a secret affair with architect Walter Gropius. Gustav learned about his wife's infidelity and sought help from psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud in a now famous 4-hour session. Perhaps fearing losing his young wife altogether, Gustav began taking an interest in her music, encouraging her to publish 5 of her songs. But in 1911, he fell gravely ill and died of an infection related to a heart defect. The following year, his widow would meet Oskar Kokoschka. During their love affair, Oskar created at least 400 paintings, drawings, and sketches of Alma Mahler. A self-portrait of the couple called The Bride of the Wind would become one of Kokoschka's most famous paintings. Though wildly passionate and professionally productive, their relationship was also stormy. Oskar was known to be temperamental, moody, jealous, and even violent. In October 1912, Alma became pregnant with his child, but chose to terminate the pregnancy. Oskar's feelings on the abortion were not well concealed. Sketches from this time period show Alma attempting to hide the aborted fetus beneath the hem of her skirt, and Alma using Kokoschka's entrails on a spinning wheel. Devastated by their crumbling love affair, the artist volunteered to join the Austrian army at the outbreak of World War I. By the time he returned home, Alma had resumed her relationship with Walter Gropius, and the pair had married. Kokoschka was injured twice during the war, surviving both a bullet wound to the head and a bayonet to the chest. He suffered from migraines and hallucinations for many years as a result of his time on the front line. But for Oskar, these injuries paled in comparison to his broken heart. Not only had he lost his love, but also the muse that had inspired the best works of his career. In 1918, he sought a remedy to his heartache, commissioning Munich doll maker Hermine Moos to create a life-sized doll with his ex-lover's body and facial features. His directions were explicit. If you are able to carry out this task as I would wish, to deceive me with such magic that when I see it and touch it, imagine that I have the woman of my dreams in front of me, he wrote. Kokoschka also sent the dollmaker a life-sized drawing of Alma and asked that she pay special attention to the dimensions of the head and neck, to the rib cage, the rump, and the limbs, and take to heart the contours of the body, the line of the neck to the back, the curve of the belly. Please permit my sense of touch to take pleasure in those places where layers of fat or muscle suddenly give way to a sinewy covering of skin. To achieve this, Kokoschka suggested Moos use fine curly horsehair for the first layer, covered with a layer of pouches stuffed with down, cotton wool for the seat and breasts. For the outer layer, Oskar asked the dollmaker to use canvas or silk to mimic the feel of skin. The point of all this for me is an experience which I must be able to embrace, he wrote. The doll was completed and delivered to Kokoschka in 1919, but the artist was disappointed to discover that Moos had used swan skin for its outermost layer, resulting in a life-sized Alma that was, perplexingly, covered in feathers. It remains unknown why Moos chose this covering, though it may have been due to wartime shortages or as a deliberate artistic choice, as her work tended to be more fantastical. Or perhaps she had her own feelings about Kokoschka's attempt to capture Alma's essence and wished to thwart his more devious plans for the doll. Whatever the reason, the swan skin made it difficult for Oskar to adorn his beloved Alma in fine clothing as he'd wished. Kokoschka wrote, "Even attempting to pull on one stocking would be like asking a French dancing master to waltz with a polar bear." Despite this setback, Kokoschka spent months taking his doll to parties and operas, as well as posing it for paintings and photographs. Ultimately, the artist created 33 works depicting the doll, including the well-known 1921 painting Self-Portrait with Doll. The departure of the Alma effigy from Kokoschka's life was as strange as its inception. In late 1919, police responded to a call about a dead body on the lawn of Oskar's house. The body turned out to be the feather-covered doll, which Kokoschka had decapitated and doused with red wine during an extravagant house party. Kokoschka's Alma doll would later be considered one of the artist's many eccentricities, and in some cases a physical manifestation of his mental illness. After a successful career teaching at the Dresden Academy and travelling extensively in Europe, North Africa and the Middle East, he relocated to Czechoslovakia, where he met his second wife. In 1937, the Nazis declared Kokoschka a degenerate artist, and he fled to London. He continued to create art for the rest of his life, living in Scotland, Wales and Switzerland. Oskar Kokoschka died in 1980 at the age of 93, cemented in art history as an essential figure in the European Expressionist movement. Alma Mahler continued to serve as a beguiling muse for artistic men, leaving Walter Gropius for Austrian bohemian writer Franz Werfel in 1920. Werfel, who was Jewish, was forced to flee Austria ahead of the Nazi occupation, and the couple ultimately settled in Los Angeles, where Werfel died of a heart attack in 1945. After his death, Alma became a US citizen and moved to New York, where she remained a cultural icon until her death in 1964. Alma and Oskar lived long lives past their short, passionate affair, but their relationship and the bizarre doll that followed remain a defining moment in both of their biographies. Oskar Kokoschka's creation was a desperate attempt to possess Alma Mahler when he could no longer possess the real woman. It was art born not of inspiration, but of grief, frustration, and an almost surreal need to control what had been lost. This strange chapter in history reminds us of the thin, often unsettling line between artist and muse, a connection that can inspire masterpieces but also drive people to the brink of madness. Kokoschka's story, like so many others, reveals that when art and obsession collide, the result can be as haunting as they are unforgettable. Thank you for watching. Right then, take care, and I'll see you next time with another story to make you say, well, I never.